Sam Olens calls himself a newbie in the fight against sex trafficking. He praises national organizations and local advocacy groups such as Street Grace and Youth Spark, who have spent many years in trying to protect Georgia's children.
So it's been my honor to assist them, but it's also what we're supposed to do to protect those that have no one looking out for them.
Olens was elected Georgia's 53rd Attorney General in 2010, and he was the first Jewish candidate to win a statewide partisan race in Georgia. His job as the state's lawyer is to defend Georgia statutes, and that includes laws on highly debated issues such as the death penalty. So couple that with combating any form of trafficking, and Sam Olens will tell you he's not just performing his elected duties.
So my mom died when I was 5. My dad died when I was 12. Then lived with my aunt and uncle. My uncle died about a year later. I have 2 siblings, which I think teaches you a lot about the need to give back.
For Olens, that also means making sure the state's laws involving sex trafficking are some of the toughest in the country. That happened in 2011 with the passing of House Bill 200. Young victims of sex trafficking come from all areas of the state. Some are runaways and often, says Olens, are from awful foster homes. And some are exploited by their own parents.
Shortly after the bill passed in the House, when we were still having some resistance, there was news of an arrest in Dodge County involving a family that was monthly providing their 14-year-old daughter to the used car lot dealer who was 66, I believe, in return for the monthly payment, sex and photographs. That was really telling to the legislature, not only because it is rural Georgia, but it was parents. And one of the interesting things about sex trafficking is there is no common fact pattern.
The parents of the girls, Sandra and James Davis, pleaded guilty to the charges against them, as did the car dealer Robert Wayne Bearden. Cases like this demonstrate that it will take a collective effort to prosecute buyers and sellers of sex with minors. And while the conversation may be uncomfortable for some, Sam Olens admits unawareness about the issue from any Georgian is unacceptable. And he points to collaborative measures that are working.
Education followed by deterrence is everything. So as an example, prior to the Final Four in basketball last year, we worked with the Final Four committee, the FBI, GBI, State Patrol, APD, Atlanta Police Department, along with numerous other law enforcement agencies, provided training to everyone from the hoteliers to the taxi drivers to the ambassadors from Central Atlanta Progress to give them the information they needed to have their eyes and ears open.
The end result, says Olens?
There were a significant number of arrests that week.
Rose Scott, WABE News. When Atlanta recently hosted the NCAA Final Four, Sam Olens says arrests were made. His office also got on board with a statewide initiative called Georgia's Not Buying It. The campaign used professional athletes from Atlanta sports teams and sportscaster Ernie Johnson.
It's time that criminals who purchase sex from children know that the secret is out.
And Georgia's not going to stand for it.
Getting more men involved around awareness is slowly growing. Republican state lawmakers Renee Unterman, Ed Lindsay, and Buzz Brockway have been vocal about the issue. Last year, Brockway told WABE it's not easy getting men to talk to other men about sex trafficking. Olens says while that may be true,
there is no excuse available here. There is no place for a man to buy a 12 to 14-year-old girl, for instance. Not appropriate in locker room talk, not appropriate anywhere. Buzz is correct that too few men have been willing to have the talk, but how dare a man consider taking such action?
And for those that are prosecuted, Olens says they need to be made an example of.
And one of the important things we need to do, far better than we've done to date, is for a judge to sentence a purchaser to numerous years in jail, just as we want the trafficker sentenced to numerous years in jail.
But there's another issue in all of this, and that's the internet. Olens says traffickers use websites like Backpage.com.
Look, we have sent numerous letters to Backpage. That is a service that, once again, I didn't know about before I was elected. I knew about Craigslist. I didn't know about Backpage.com. The GBI tells me that they have approximately 6 arrests a month, specifically due to ads from Backpage.com advertising sex. They don't say 12, they say young and tender, as an example.
The lone hurdle that Olens and other attorneys general can't clear is that Backpage.com stands behind the First Amendment.
49 attorneys general have requested an amendment to the Communication Decency Act in Congress, and we certainly hope that sooner than later that amendment will occur and become law, and that we will have additional tools to stop those folks on the internet that are selling children for sex.
Olens knows that means having strong ties in Washington, D.C., but he also thinks it shouldn't be this hard to modify an amendment that will protect children. So what's left for Georgia to do?
We're pleased with the improvement, but there's a far way to go. Still too many children are sold for sex.
As for what's next for Olens, he didn't detail his political future. He says he's focused on being Georgia's Attorney General. Rose Scott, WABE News.